Good morning. Today we are going to discuss about the lesson Universe and Space Science. Have you ever watched the clear sky in the night? You will be delighted when we see countless number of stars and the beautiful moon. Do you know about astronomy? Yes, the science which deals with the study of stars, planets, and other motions, their positions and compositions is known as astronomy. You can see the celestial bodies that revolve around the sun. What do you mean by celestial objects? Planets, moon, asteroids, comets, the sky are called celestial objects. The sun, the celestial bodies which revolve around it, all form the solar system. A collection of billions of stars held together by mutual attraction is called gallery. So to our which gallery our sun belongs? Yes, Milky Way galaxies. Billions of such galleries form the universe. Hence the solar system, the stars and the galaxies are the constituents of the universe. Many countries are showing interest to explore the space and they are sending manned and unmanned rockets to the moon and other planets. Man means human being will go along with the rockets. Our country also has launched a number of rockets into the space research. In this lesson, we will study about launching of rockets, types of rocket fuels, Indian Space Research Program, and NASA. First, we move on to rockets. What do you mean by rockets? Rockets help us to launch space probes to explore the planets in the solar system. We already know universe is a great mystery to all of us. Our mind always tries to know about the space around us. Understanding the space will be helpful to us in many ways. Discovery of rocket has opened a small portion of the universe to us. They also help us to launch space-based telescopes to explore the universe. More than all, rockets enable us to put satellites which are useful to us in many ways. What is the use of the satellites? So it can be used for military purposes, and then communication purposes can be done by means of these satellites. So our country also has effective rocket technology and has applied it successfully to provide so many space service globally. Now we are going to see parts of a rocket. A rocket is a space vehicle with a very powerful engine designed to carry people or equipment beyond Earth and out into the space. So out of the space it helps to keep. There are 4 major parts or systems in a rocket. Can you name them? Yes. Structural system, payload system, guidance system, and the last one, propulsion system. You will see one by one. First one, structural system. It is said to be a frame. The structural system is a frame that covers the rocket It is made up of very strong but lightweight material. So materials like titanium or aluminum is used. Fins are attached to some rockets at the bottom of the frame to provide stability during their flight. So what are the materials we use there? Titanium or aluminum. The next we move on to payload system. Payload is object that the satellite is carrying into the orbit. So the payload depends upon the rocket's mission. The rockets are modified to launch satellite with a wide range of missions like communication, weather monitoring, spying, planetary exploitation. There are some special rockets also there to launch people into the Earth's orbit onto the surface of the moon. And then we move on to guidance system. Guidance means math. The system which guides the rocket in its path. It may include sensors, onboard computers, radars, and communication equipments. The last one, propulsion system. It takes up most of the space in the rocket. It consists of fuel, pumps, and a combustion chamber. There are two main types of propulsions: liquid propulsion system and the next one, solar propulsion system. Do you know PSLV? That is Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, and GSLV, Geosynchronous Satellite Launch Vehicle. These two rockets are Indians' popular rockets. Now we move on to types of propellant, that is the fuel tank. A propellant is a chemical substance that undergo combustion to produce pressurized gases whose energy is utilized to move a rocket against the gravitational force of attraction. So it is a mixture which contains a fuel that burns and an oxidizer which supplies oxygen necessary for the burning. We already know for combustion to take place, oxygen is necessary. So the propellant may be either in the form of liquid or in the form of solid. So case 1, in case of liquid propellants, the fuel and oxidizer are combined in the combustion chamber where they burn and come out from the base of the rocket with a great force. You can see in the rocket launching, it is moving on. At the base you can see a lot of air and gas with the fire comes out. This is because of Newton's third law only it's moving up. So here liquid hydrogen and ethyl alcohol are the liquid fuels. Some of the oxidizer are oxygen, ozone, hydrogen peroxide and fuming nitric acids. The next we move on to solid propellant. So in solid propellant, fuel and oxidizer compounds are already combined and kept. So here what will happen? We have to give ignition. When they are ignited, they burn and produce heat energy. Combustion of solid propellants cannot be stopped once it is ignited. Can you name some solid fuels? Polyurethanes and polybutadiene, nitrate and chlorate salts are used as a oxidizer. So here what you have seen, once it is ignited, it cannot be stopped. It will continuously burn and go on. And the third case, cryogenic propellants. What do you mean by cryogenic? So the liquefied gases which are kept at a low temperature are said to be cryogenics. In this type of fuel, the fuel oxidizer are liquefied gases and they are stored at a low temperature. These fuels do not need any ignition system. They just react on mixing and they will start burning on their own. Then next we move on to launching a satellite. How we can launch a satellite? Next we move on to launching a satellite. Before being launched into space, rockets will be held down by clamps on the launching pad. So manned or unmanned satellite will be placed at the top of the rocket. So what happens when the rocket is burned? It will produce an upthrust force. There will be a point at which the upthrust force will be greater than the weight of the satellite. So at that point, the clamp will be removed by remote control and the rocket will move upwards. As we already know, according to Newton's third law, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction that takes place in two different objects. So as the gas is released downwards, the rocket will be moved upwards. To place a satellite in a particular orbit, a satellite must be raised to the desired height and given the correct speed and direction by the launching rocket. If this high velocity is given to the rocket at the surface of the earth, the rocket will be burned due to air friction. Moreover, such high velocities cannot be developed by a single rocket. So what happens? We have to use by means of multi-stage. So rocket multi-stage are used. To penetrate the dense lower part of the atmosphere, initially the rocket rises vertically and then what happens? It will tilted by a guidance system. Now move on to Indian space programs. After independence, India initiated space research activities. In 1969, the ISRO was formed. ISRO means Indian Space Research Organization was formed with the objective of developing space technology and its application for different needs of the nation. India is focusing on satellite for communication and remote sensing, space transportation system and application program. Do you know first satellite launched by India? Yes, the first ever satellite Aryabhatta was launched in 1975. Since then, India has achieved a lot in space programs equal to that of the developed nation. Rakesh Sharma, an Indian pilot from Punjab, was selected as a cosmonaut in a joint space program between India and Soviet Union and became the first Indian to ever enter into the space on 2nd April 1984. We now move on to Chandrayaan. A country launched a satellite Chandrayaan, that is moon vehicle, on 22nd October 2008 to study about the moon. The spacecraft was orbiting around the moon at a height of 100 km from the lunar space. It collected the chemical, the mineralogical and the geological information about the moon. It was operated for 312 days and achieved 95% of its objectives. Can we see some of the objectives of Chandrayaan? to find the possibility of water on the moon, to find the elements of matter on the moon, to search for the existence of helium 3, to make a three-dimensional atlas of the moon, to study about the evolution of the solar system. Achievements of Chandrayaan, when we say it discovered the presence of water molecules in the lunar soil, it confirms that the moon was completely molten once. Chandrayaan has recorded images of the landing site of US spacecraft Apollo 15 and Apollo 11. It has provided high resolution spectral data on the mineralogy of the moon. The existence of aluminum, magnesium, and silicon were picked up by the X-ray camera. It beam backs its first image of the Earth in its entirety. Chandrayaan 1 has discovered large caves on the lunar surface that can act as human shelter on the moon. The next we move on to know about the scientist Dr. Mangalyaan Annadurai. He was born on 2nd July 1958 at Kottavadi, a small village near Pollachi in Coimbatore district. Annadurai is a leading technologist in the field of satellite system. He has served as the project director of Chandrayaan 1. He has also made significant contributions to the cost-effective designs of Chandrayaan. And do you know about KalamSAT? Yes, KalamSAT is the world's smallest satellite, weighing only 64 grams. It was built by a team of high school students led by Rifat Sharuk, an 18-year-old student from Pallipatti near Karur, Tamil Nadu. It was launched into the space on 22nd June 2017 by NASA. Next, we move on to Mangalyaan. After the successful launch of Chandrayaan 1, Israel planned an unmanned mission to Mars. Unmanned means without human, without man, it will move on. So Mars orbiter mission. And launched a space probe vehicle. This probe was launched by PSLV rocket. By launching Mangalyaan, ISRO became the fourth space agency to reach Mars. The objectives, when we say, to develop the technology required for interplanetary mission, to explore the surface of Mars, to study the constituents of the atmosphere of Mars, and to provide information about the future possibilities of life and past existence of life on the planet. Do you know? India became the first Asian country to reach Mars and the first nation in the world to achieve this in this first attempt. Soviet space program, NASA, and European Space Agency are the three other agencies that have reached Mars before ISRO. Now we move on to Chandrayaan 2. ISRO has currently launched a follow-on mission to Chandrayaan 1, named Chandrayaan 2. Its mission is a highly complex mission compared to previous missions of ISRO. It brought together an orbiter, lander, and rover. It aims to explore south pole of the moon because the surface area of the south pole remains in a shadow much larger than that of the north pole. Orbiter It revolves around the moon and it is capable of communicating with the Indian Deep Space Network IDSN as well as Vikram lander. The lander is named as Vikram in the memory of Dr. Vikram H. Sarabhai, the father of Indian space program. And the third rover, it has a six-wheeled robotic vehicle named as Pragyan. It means wisdom. It was successfully inserted into the lunar orbit. In the final stage of the mission, just 2.1 km above the lunar space, lander Vikram lost its communication with the ground station on 17 September 2019. But the orbiter continuously its works successfully. Do you know about the scientist? Dr. Kailasa Vadu Sivan is a chairperson of the Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO. He was born in Sarkavilli in Kanyakumari district of Tamil Nadu. Sivan is popularly known as the Rocket Man for his significant contribution to the development of cryogenic engines for Indian space program. The ability of ISRO to send 104 satellites in a single mission is a great example of his expertise. Now we move on to NASA. National Aeronautics and Space Administration is a popular space agency whose headquarters is located at Washington, USA. NASA technology has contributed to make many items used in everyday life, from smoke detectors to medical tests. Apollo mission. Apollo mission are the most popular missions of NASA. These missions made American astronauts to land on the moon. It consists of totally 17 missions. Among them, Apollo 8 and Apollo 11 are more remarkable. Apollo 8 was first manned mission to go to the moon. It orbited around the moon and came back to the earth. Apollo 11 was the first manned landing mission to the moon. It landed on the moon on 20th July 1969. Neil Armstrong was the first man to walk on the surface of the moon. NASA works with ISRO. NASA made an agreement to work with ISRO to launch the NISAR satellite. NASA ISRO synthetic aperture radar and Mars exploration mission. Also work of Indians at NASA. Peoples of Indian origin in America are working in NASA and they made remarkable contribution to NASA. Can you name two of them? It's Kalpana Chawla and Sunita Williams. She became the first Indian woman astronaut to go to space. But on a second mission on the Columbia shuttle, she lost her life when the shuttle broke down. And another person, Sunita Williams. She made 2 trips to the International Space Station. She set a record of the longest space walking time by a female astronaut in 2012 with a total walk of 50 hours and 40 minutes. There is 7 spacewalks. She is one of the crew of NASA's manned Mars mission. In this lesson, we have discussed about the rockets and its types, Indian Space Research Organization and NASA, and their achievements. Thank you, students.